Hello, and welcome back. As I mentioned in my very first YouTube video, the goal of this channel is to play songs for you, mostly originals, and then do a video that explains the history, the inspiration, or explains the story behind a particular song. Well, with that being said, the most recent video I did was Happiness. So let's talk about that song. Let me set the scene for you. It's August 3rd, 2012, and I was working as a live sound engineer. We just got done setting up sound for the Louisville Street Fair. That's right, Louisville, not Louisville. I'm not for sure exactly why I changed the actual location in the song from Louisville to Louisville. Either one would have worked, but Louisville just seemed appropriate. Yeah, I wish I had a better story for that one, but I don't. So we've set up for this concert, and the audience is going crazy, and it's really loud, and all of a sudden, from my little sound booth, out of the corner of my eye, I see this woman, and she's stunning. She's got this little black dress on, and there's flames, like fire, coming up from the bottom, and it's just unbelievable. And I really wanted to talk to her. Alright, hold on just a second. For the story behind this song to make sense, I need to explain some things. I have never really been good, and continue to be quite poor, at talking with women. It's just not a skill set I ever developed, and has never just really been a part of my life. So over the last few months, prior to this concert, I'd been reading a lot of books, talking with a lot of my friends who were, well, they were ladies' men. They just had that skill set, and I was asking them for advice and pointers, and here I was, looking at this beautiful woman and wanting to say something. Unfortunately, as I mentioned before, we were at this really loud concert, and there was no way for me to go up and strike up a conversation in our surroundings. So I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? I can write her a note. So I started looking around for something to write on. Couldn't find any notepads or paper or a post-it or anything. All I had on me was a handful of business cards. Now, let me expound upon that. I had no intention whatsoever of really talking to her. Just saying hello, you know, I think you're attractive, would have been a large enough baby step for me at that point in my development. But you do what you do, and all I had were these business cards. So I found a pen, and I turned it over, and I started thinking, for what seemed like forever, about what to write. And when all was said and done, on the back of this business card, I wrote, I just had to say, you are hands down the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. Pretty good line, right? But again, it really wasn't a line. I was being genuine. All I wanted to do was brighten up her day, make her smile, and that was that. I never thought I would start developing a rapport with her. So I've got my card, and she's within arm's reach of the sound booth, and I tap her on the shoulder, and I hand her the card. And no sooner does she take the card from me, look at it, read it, and look back up, and I'm gone. Nowhere to be seen. I was that nervous. I was so petrified. I just needed to be somewhere else. So I walked around the concert, did some other audio engineering things, and it didn't take long, but I started getting text messages on my phone. This is important later, but my phone was a flip phone. That's right, 2012, and I still had a flip phone. Anyway, first text message was very simple. Is this the number for the guy who gave me the card? Yes. Yes, it is. Then the conversation continued. Very positive. Very, oh my gosh, this never happens to me. That was so nice. ... And then it hit me. I had made arrangements to meet up with a friend of mine's sister. He was convinced that we would hit it off, and so we were going to test the waters and see if there was any kind of romantic spark. And at that point, I couldn't help but think, sweet. I went from being incapable of speaking to women to being the douchebag who's meeting one woman and flirting with another. Not a good feeling. But the concert went on, and I hung out with the sister, and every once in a while, walking back and forth to vendors or to the stage, I would see the girl in the black dress. And we made eye contact a couple of times. Later on, she would tell me that she noticed the other woman and decided not to come up and make things infinitely more awkward for me than they already were. But that was that. The concert came to a close. We packed everything up. And no sooner was I ready to go home did I grab my phone and I immediately messaged her and I said, "Hey, are you still here?" The answer was no. I wasn't terribly surprised because, as is, audio engineers are usually the first ones in and the last ones out. In this case, that's exactly what happened. There was no one else around, and she had already left the event and gone back home to Denver. Okay, I figured that was that, and I would never hear from her again, really. Luckily, that wasn't the case, and we started texting back and forth, having phone calls. We had a few of those super cliche phone calls, the ones where you guys start talking really late at night and then keep talking until you both fall asleep. It was kind of cool. I'd never had that happen to me before. And then there was a couple of instances where I drove down to Denver to hang out with her, hang out with her and her friends. We went to a comedy show. It was good. Things were looking up. And then she just dropped off the face of the earth. No more phone calls, no more text messages, no more explanations, nothing. It's what I call the fade out. And maybe I'll go into some other videos and talk about some of these made-up terms. Don't know yet. But the fade out is exactly what it sounds like. She just fizzled away and just stopped communicating. And for what it's worth, I have to admit, the fade out is probably one of the most cruel things you can do to somebody. Of course, while writing this song, I came to the realization that I had done that to other people. And for that, I'm sorry. I am truly and genuinely sorry. But here I was, enamored with this girl. I mean, it really wasn't anything more than lust at first sight. I barely got to know her at all. But that didn't change the fact that my feelings were hurt. Now, throughout this entire experience, I'd been writing. It's what you do. So I had reams of napkins and papers and documents with all these one-liners about the good stuff, about all the positive things, about this really attractive woman that I met at this event. And as things trailed off, I started getting a lot of, "Oh, woe is me, my life's so horrible, she broke my heart and stomped on it like a baby duck." And I really had two completely bipolarly different songs. And fast forward now to December. Occasionally there would be some communication over the Worldwide Book of Face, but it was so hit and miss and there wasn't any substance to it, but there was still some communication, if you want to call it that. And I was talking to one of my buddies who understood women considerably better than I did. And he's like, hey, you haven't heard from her really in this much time. You could do something big. Do the grand gesture. And I had informed him that I was going to be down in Denver this weekend for a blues dance workshop. I was going to be there as a part of the sound crew, and that would require me to stay in Denver for the weekend. Another sound engineering buddy of mine essentially helped me find a place to stay at the house he was living in. And I'm like, this is perfect. I'll be in Denver, I'll pick a day, and I'll go and round up all these things, flowers and stuff, and I will show up to her work with them. Right? Super good plan. And that day came, and I had to keep making phone calls back home and find out where to go. Because again, I didn't have a smartphone, and I didn't know anything about Denver. So my friends were giving me directions to flower shops and a couple different gift shops till I could acquire all the things. And I remember after I had bought the gift, I was sitting in my car trying to figure out what to write on the card. And after a lot of drafts, I filled out the card, and then I wanted to write her a letter. This was about the time that Disney animated short had come out. The one with the guy who sees the girl and he ends up folding a bunch of paper airplanes and throwing them out of his building, hoping to get her attention. I thought it was really cool, so I took the letter I had written and folded it into a paper plane and stuck it in the bouquet of flowers. And I was set. And then I realized my car wouldn't start. So here I am in some part of Denver I know nothing about, and I can't get my car to start. And I hoped against hope that if I just turned my car off and let it sit, there would be enough of a buildup, a residual charge that my car would turn over. So I sat there for like well over an hour. And luckily, my car started. Unfortunately, this pushed my night out even further, and it was really late and dark out, and I didn't even know when her work closed. So finally I got in touch with my navigators back home, and they got me directions to her work. And mind you, this is December in Colorado, and it just so happened to be the first snow of the season, if you will, and it was coming down like crazy. There had already been like 6 inches or a foot worth of snow on the ground. And I finally get to her work, and I go in, and I'm feeling good. I'm confident. I'm on cloud 9. I walk into the restaurant, and someone comes up to me and asks what I'm doing. I said, well, is she here? Insert name. Well, hold on a minute. Woman left, came back, and she's like, well, no, she's left for the day. I'm like, oh, man. God, I can't believe I missed her. Yeah, whatever, no big deal. Well, the woman I was talking to had made it seem like she should be there, that she shouldn't have left for the day yet. So she gets on the phone, leaves, and comes back, and she's like, yeah, she is gone. Great. Well, I tried. So I leave the restaurant, I cross the street, and I'm on the other side of a 4-way intersection, and it's snowing like crazy. And as if it was out of some sort of romantic comedy. Actually, this wouldn't be a comedy. This was just a drama. As if it was some scene out of a drama, all of a sudden I hear a car pass through the intersection behind me. And I turn, and I see her car. She drove like a really old school blue Volvo. And she's just driving, very clearly making eye contact. Didn't stop, didn't say anything, just kept driving. And there I was. And I almost wrote that song. I almost wrote the, you left me standing here in Colorado snow, uphill both ways, nowhere to go, ... And I'm pretty glad I didn't write that song. But I get in my car, and I throw the bouquet of flowers in the back window, and I start to navigate the best that I can out of this area of Denver. As I'm weaving around the neighborhoods, I get text message. Surprise, surprise, guess who from? And she asks me, did you go to my work today? I'm thinking, maybe. She says, well, based off the description I got, it had to be you. And I'm thinking, and I think I texted something to this effect. Well, it depends. Did they say that a tall, handsome, ruggedly good-looking man came into your work? Trying to keep it light. Which was immediately crushed and followed up with a text message that said, I'm seeing someone I work with. Don't ever do that again. Okay. That was that. So I finally navigated back to where I was staying for the weekend. And the next day, I had opted to drive some of the out-of-towners from where I was sleeping to this blues clinic. And one of the people, this woman, saw the flowers in the back, and she was like, oh my gosh, who were those for? So, considerably more abbreviated, I told her the story. And I can't remember her exact wording, but she said something to the effect of, if she doesn't appreciate this, she's not worth your time. And that was like a revelation. I mean, I've been working on this kind of growth and development, self-assurance, some confidence. But to hear it from someone who I didn't even really know, who was able to make a very, limited assessment based off of our interactions, limited assessment of my character, and to have her say, this is her loss. That was huge for me. That was a real big deal. At that point, I was, kind of choked up, and I wanted to offer her the flowers, but A, she had a boyfriend or a fiance at the time who wasn't at this event, but I also thought it'd be kind of cheesy to be like, hey, I bought these for some other girl, but do you want them? So I didn't. Smart enough not to do that. And the weekend closed out. The blues clinic ended, and I went back home. And as I mentioned, throughout this whole process, I've been writing. And I have, from an initial glance, 2 completely different songs. I've got the I Met the Girl of My Dreams and My World Sucks, Woe Is Me, She Stomped on My Heart Like a Baby Duck. And I don't know which song to write. Maybe write both. But either one of those songs by themselves have been written. And especially in blues, the I met this great woman, she broke my heart, it's a pretty cliche theme. And after talking with my buddy Dennis, I was expressing my frustration with writing this song. I didn't know what to do. Because every time I would go to write this song, it would turn into that song from The Wedding Singer with Adam Sandler. The one where, he was so happy and relieved, and then his life was horrible and he wished she would die. And I didn't want to write that. And after talking with Dennis, I came to the realization of what this song was actually about. And it was about my own personal growth. Really being able to start assessing my self-worth. And I told him, I'm like, at the beginning of all of this, I thought, there's no way. There's no way that this woman would give me the time of day. Which is probably why I approached her. Because I'm like, this is probably just going to end bad, so whatever. And then with his help, by the end of this experience, I was like, you know what? I am awesome. I am a attractive, intelligent, talented guy. She's missing out. Now, I don't know if any of you have experienced this sort of growth and development, but to rewire your brain like that is quite the undertaking. And I still struggle with it now, but I'm much more apt to doing that. But I still fall occasionally. I still slip into my old ways of thinking more often than I'd like. But it occurred to me after working through this with him that that's the song I should write. That's the transition this song should show. It should show the doubt and the lack of confidence in my own self-worth. And then due to the interaction with this woman, coming to the realization that I am really cool, I'm awesome, and I'm a catch. And that's what this song is really about. One more thing. I've had people ask me why I chose happiness. Why not love? I found love down in Louisville. Or I found joy. Why did I pick happiness? Well, I picked happiness because among the conversations that this woman and I had, she revealed to me that her name translated, it meant happiness. Which is why it's a little confusing, because if you listen to the lyrics, it's like, I found happiness down in Louisville. And sure, you could be talking about the emotion, but then throughout the song I say, I found her. So it was kind of a cool little twist there. But that's where the title came from. It's what her name meant. And again, in hindsight, and I think even in the moment, I realized the interaction for what it was. I was looking for her to be things she wasn't. It was just lust at first sight. But made for a good song. At least I think so. All right. Now that that's over, what did this song mean to you? Did it, I don't know, move you more than physically? Did it speak any sort of volumes to you? Did you relate to this, how it was meant to, or did it relate to you in some other level? I'm really curious to see how my music translates to other people and their experiences in their life. So comment below and let me know what you think. As all YouTube videos end, like, comment, subscribe, but more importantly, share. This has been the first episode of Noted Commentary. I'll cut you loose and catch you later. This is so bad. All right.